Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting that to look back and to see what was important during the pandemic. But it's a good experience to build on going forward. Sharanjeet.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation, Dr. Paterson. Just a simple question. Hoping I'm not throwing the cat amongst the pigeons. Have you made this presentation to the department and their reaction? Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. So JET is part of an NGO coalition, which did meet with the department, and some of these matters were discussed. I think your question is very important. There was a sense in which we were hoping for a quicker turnaround time for our work, and because the work was done in 2020 and it was only published in 2021. But the general lessons were presented to the department. Unfortunately, I was not there, so I can't really comment on the department's response to these.
You see, my problem is, Dr. Paterson, that if we want to bring about systemic change, there are certain key factors that need to play now in terms of mathematics, obviously. I'm the CEO of the Math Center, so mathematics and physics, crucially important, and we are working hand in hand with JET on several projects at the moment. This research is so valuable, so crucial to understand that a national program needs to be rolled out in order to acknowledge and in order to recognize that parents have always been and they are equal partners in their learners' education. They may not know much, which means, like, we run a campaign called Parents Matter, Parents Count. And constantly we come across this issue that we can't solve because none of us are experts. They wish that many, many things that are being rolled out, they could somehow understand how they could be a part of it. Thank you.
Yes, do you want to respond, Andrew?
Just to say that I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Please raise your virtual hand or put your video on. I'm wondering whether it wouldn't be a way forward might not be to develop parents' materials that go with the topic in the curriculum to give parents advice on how they can support it.
%100%. And see, because just to always complain and moan about parents don't come to meetings and parents don't support the learners, the tragic things that continue to happen in our classrooms, my humble view is it's because we don't give them enough acknowledgement, enough recognition, and we don't bring them in enough. As a tiny little NGOs, we can bring in a few hundred parents, but that isn't systemic change. We need to acknowledge, we need to recognize them with respect, with honor. At the end of the day, I'm the first expert on my child, as you are, and as Dr. Paterson is. It is how it works.
Wondering if science centers are doing work on reaching out to parents and having days on which parents can come specifically, you know, not bringing their children and letting the children play with the exhibits. But actually,
Not sure, but that's another brilliant idea. Yeah, that would be good.
Justin Yarrow.
Hi, I'm coming a little bit late to this, but I was wondering if, you know, guidelines could be given to school governing boards and almost like a process where they get like a stamp of approval for incorporating some of the more active parenting guidelines that could help bring parents into the conversation. Because I think that, you know, for as much as school governing boards are meant to do that and are meant to provide parent representation, often they don't. So I don't know, it just seems like from a systemic change perspective, like the ability to say, you know, and almost, you know, sharing best practices across school governing boards and those being guided by a process meant to bring more parents in might be useful. Just an idea. Thanks.
Excellent.
Thank you, Justin.
Excellent
Great
idea.
idea. Eric Maluta.
I wanted to say what I've seen when we're working with the Nelson Mandela University. We've seen that they have a relation with tribal authorities, where when they are doing their careers and also the issue of coding, they engage parents from that relationship they have. And I think then it makes things easier from the parents to the children, especially when you are engaging the primary, so that at least that learning relation is there. And I think from a science center perspective, I think that's it's a way to go to say we can have that relation, engage the parents, and then the learning will be fine with the children.
Very interesting. Thank you. Tubela.
Yeah. Thanks for that response, Maluta. I actually wanted to speak to that, to say this is a good idea to involve parents. However, how do we bring those in rural areas and townships closer? Because it may only be parents in urban areas who manage to visit the science centers. So if there are such initiatives where science centers can work with districts and also what traditional authorities, then that is very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are very good ideas, and I really do think our science centers are well placed to do that, to reach out to the community and tribal authorities and make those connections. It is, of course, a whole lot of extra work, but it might be a very effective investment. Anything else, Dr. Paterson?
Thank you. I think one of the questions would also be, and again, we have a system where there's pressure at so many different levels. The relationship between teachers and parents specifically is not as well developed as we would want. And perhaps in a way, the idea of bringing in of engaging with parents, well, it is a very difficult one to deal with and is very daunting. But in a way, perhaps it's good that we keep it on the table, even though it may not be the most important policy initiative to take up. It may not be considered that way. But we, one could suggest that in the medium to long term, this will remain important. And perhaps the question is related to thinking how this can be done in a way that generates value, but is not seen as just another thing to be done by pressurized teachers and school management groups. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Paterson, for the presentation and that response.